Hello everyone, my name is Jorge. I'm going to do enhancement number 2. We got to do the SQL statements and make sure we run them. After that, we need to create a PDO connection, just show that it works and errors are successfully caught when the connection fails. And of course, we give that error page. And lastly, that error page is supposed to pass all of the validation. There be HTML, CSS, or in the end, just the wave tool validation. So let's do the first one here that we have for the SQL statement. First one is I'm going to insert the Iron Man over here, or in other words, insert a client. I do like to run the rollback, but in this case, I don't need to. And since I've done this a couple of times or a few times, you'll see that the ID is probably not ID number 1, but I could put in ID number 1. But here's row ID of 9. But everything was good on that one. Next, I am going to update that Tony Stark to be client level 3. And I needed to change the client ID to 9 since the client ID is not 1, it's 9 in the clients table. So I'm going to go ahead and run it. I'm going to keep the query box. Okay. Here he is. Number 3. Sweet. The next query that we need to do is we need to update the wording of the GM Hummer inventory. We need to switch small interior with spacious interior. And to be able to do that, I use the replace SQL function. Something in this query is that we need to make sure that the ID is number 12. So I'm going to run it and I'm going to retain this as well. It didn't do it as far as we can see. It's more than likely because we already done this before. I ran it already in the past. I already switched it, and just to make sure that that is the case, I'm going to go over here to 12. If I double click this and go down, you'll see that this says spacious interiors. So I already did that. I'll probably switch it back, but that's okay. The next one is a simple select. We're only looking for 2 specific columns here. We're doing what you call an inner join, as in we want anything that matches on the classification ID. In this case, the sorting will be to only look for the specific classification name of SUB on the car classification table. This will also give us the inventory model when we run it. So we'll retain the query box. And it shows 4 total. Got Wrangler, Machine, Escalade, and a Surveillance Van. Sweet, looks like that worked. The next query has to do with deleting the Jeep Wrangler inventory. So to be able to do that, I'm going to go to SQL. And we use delete from inventory, where inventory.inventory ID is 1. And typically I like to use the rollback just to save it, but since I know it works, I'm just going to go for it. I'll make sure that I do. There you go. It says 1 row affected. And now Jeep Wrangler is gone. The last one is to update all records in the inventory table to add that /PHPMotors string to file paths of inventory image and thumbnail. That's going to be crucial. That way it can load pictures correctly. So it's database driven, the file location, which makes it pretty easy. So we're using the concatenate function to be able to do that. Okay. Looking at this, looks like just giving me a warning of what's going on here. But all the rows were affected. We got PHPMotors at the front of it, and that's what we were looking for. So those are the queries. Let's talk about the connection. The next thing I'm going to show is the connections first. This is something that you can try out yourself by typing in the URL for localhost, PHPMotors, libraries, since inside your library, and clicking on space. Or clicking on enter right after you enter it. If it works and the connection is successful, then it'll give me a blank page, as we see right here. My next point will be to actually make it fail. So I'm gonna edit the host file, the connections PHP, not the host file. And I'm gonna try again here. Let's see what it does. And it'll give me the server error that we're trying to do, which is exactly what we want, since if it does not have, or if the connection is wrong, then it should give you this. Since we're here, we're gonna make the validation of this page. The first thing I'm gonna do is show the wave validation here. It's looking good. That's nice. We're gonna check the HTML next. Okay, a local HTML. No errors. And last but not least, and this one's kind of interesting, that I get an error. Local CSS has to do with this. I'm not really sure what that is, but I don't believe it's something that I'm using. This seems to be something that is for normalizing the page. Well, what's odd is that I can't find this, even though here's my CSS for it. It says it's somewhere between line 9, but there's nothing in there. So I believe this is with something else instead of my actual code. So it's good stuff. Anyway, that's it on that. I'm going to show some of the screens, like iPad mini, the XR, 12 Pro. Already did iPad mini. Let's see if we can do Surface Pro and the Galaxy. Oh, that's my code.